Jessica.
No, that's not what I wanted. Hmm. Where do I do this now? Oh, that's what it is.
I don't have any more notes. Piece of crap.
We'll go entire screen here. Okay.
Chapter 13. I don't have anything to type in. But Tristan's
I'm screening it right now.
What?
Okay.
Hey, don't you put that crap in the laptop here. They gotta-
All right. What? No. We just have a couple more to finish up today.
Now your speaker's broken.
What'd you say? We don't need it. We don't. Keep doing that. I love everybody's reaction to it.
Don't you love it? It's just that, it's like that sharp, like that nice.
The big old whale.
You think that sounds like a whale? High-pitched Trent noise, huh? You don't sound like that, do you?
Oh, you don't know.
That sound like a goat?
No.
Goats sometimes make that noise. Okay, that's
Is it? Is it
all right. Is everybody here?
Oh.
You good? Or do I need to put that on?
I don't think you need that thing on.
I go ahead and go grab that over at Mike there, buddy.
Yeah, we're gonna finish up these chapter 13 notes here. So get your bureau. Okay, you go right over there. Standard procedure here. We have a couple that we're just gonna finish up. We're gonna then finish up our self-eval, get into the test review a little bit, and then we'll go out to the greenhouse and see what we gotta do out there. Okay, so what we're gonna look at today, we have talked about all of this stuff up here. The last thing we're gonna look at are 6 environmental and agricultural management factors when practices that affect photosynthesis. We'll also explain why plants are considered a carbon sink, what that term means. And then also, we'll look at, and you'll be able to explain the full carbon cycle. But my hope is that as you kind of went through a diagram yesterday, the whole process between the electron transport chain and the Calvin cycle, that whole relationship between those two is really all part of the carbon cycle as well. So we'll look at that in just a second. And I need to probably zoom through these.
Do you?
I do. And this is what we left off on yesterday. 2 days ago. Sorry. This is slide 35. So we left off on the Calvin cycle. We went through all the processes there. So let's go to the next thing here. So essentially, and we've talked about this as well, why do plants actually go through this process and make sugar? Well, they have to do it for a lot of different reasons. The biggest thing that they don't what?
They don't eat, so I gotta
Yep, they don't eat. They can't actually eat
They should
food,
have their drink.
so they have to actually make it themselves. But the biggest part is because of the exportation of sugars throughout the whole plant. Because that plant needs, this energy needs sugar to fuel everything else. And another big reason here that we will get into next chapter is cell respiration. The glucose, the sugar molecule is made, and now it has to be exported to the mitochondria for cell respiration to actually happen. And we will talk about that next chapter. All right. First objective was these 6 factors that affect photosynthesis, and here they are right here. We have light quality, light intensity, light duration, or how long the light cycle is, or how long it's going to be light. We also have CO2 concentration. So how much carbon dioxide is actually around the plants, in the air, for the plants to actually convert it into glucose or sugar. The temperature outside, and then water availability. So do you think plants work best or photosynthesize better in warmer temps or colder temps?
Colder.
Yeah, probably warmer temps. Now it can get to a point where it's too warm outside and they don't photosynthesize as well, but yeah, warmer temperatures, that is, definitely they work best in that aspect. All right, so let's just go through each of these factors right here. Light quality, somebody read that one just off the board for me. Go ahead, Keith, thank you.
Chlorophyll reacts best to blue and red wavelengths and are most necessary for photosynthesis.
All right, very good. So we know that they don't react very well with green. They don't absorb green well. They react best to blue and red wavelengths. They absorb those the best, and that is what excites the photosystems. Okay, somebody read the next one for me. Light intensity.
Oh, light intensity rate increases with light intensity.
Great.
Light reactions occur more rapidly. At some point, all electrons are excited, and photosynthesis maxes
Yep.
out.
So at some point,
AKA
when we have all the electrons, when those photons are hitting the leaves, at a certain point, the electrons are going to be all excited in the photosystem, and that is when the maximum amount of food is going to be produced, or at ATP and NADPH. Okay, light duration. Somebody read that one for us.
Cody will.
I would not let him read
light
anything.
duration, the longer the day, the more photosynthesis takes place.
Periodism.
That is the growth response to the length of dark periods.
Okay, so of course at night there's going to be these dark periods, and that is actually when the cell respiration is going to be happening during a lot of times the night process. But light duration, just the longer the day, the more photosynthesis takes place, and that's why in the summer months, a lot of plants are doing a lot of photosynthesis because the temps are good and the days are a lot longer as well. Okay, our last 6 here. CO2 levels. Increasing levels stimulate photosynthesis until photosynthesis levels off once it gets to that max point. Some greenhouses have to actually pump in CO2 because, I mean, a plant is going to get a lot more CO2 outside of a greenhouse than it is inside of a greenhouse.
Is it?
Yeah, and that is actually how some greenhouses combat that. They actually pump artificial CO2 into their greenhouse. We never had to do that, but
Yeah.
yeah. But we do, I think our tower garden's struggling to go because we have nothing pollinating our vegetables. That's why they
Let's
call
go
our-
buy some bees.
Gotta shake up.
that's why our school, we might have to do something like that. Elise, you tried to do a little self-pollination, but I don't know yet. You said you only found 2 of them,
Yeah.
right? You have to show me when we go out there which ones they were.
You're just gonna have
Hopefully.
to let the doors open and let you.
Temperature. Right here again, increasing temps, okay, with light intensity are definitely going to help out with making photosynthesis more rapid. But at certain temperatures, if they become too high, then they become ineffective. So you want higher temperatures, but like it says here, the enzymes become ineffective and the stoma is closed to limit to lime. No, we're not liming too much.
What are you doing?
Limit is what it's supposed to be. Yeah, we don't really care about lime, I guess, but limit water loss. And then our last one here, water availability. When there is a drought, or when plants have lack of water, as of like right now, you know, how many inches is it? How many inches of rain did you get, Farmia?
We have like
Over 2, probably.
over 2.
That's
Two
what I was
and a
thinking of
half
town here.
the last time I checked, and that was this morning.
Yeah. So we're not hurting for water as of right now, but
It's still raining.
this summer, you never know what July brings. It seems like in Nebraska, we get water till about June, and then once July hits, it shuts off. And that is where plants then really start suffering on their photosynthesis because there's not enough water.
July.
So we know water is a crucial part of photosynthesis. Okay, this is just, again, just some of the factors. We got light intensity is a big one. Also carbon dioxide, everything else that we just talked about. Here would be the carbon cycle.
That's not how that works.
This is, yes, the carbon cycle is right here. And that's the deal. Plants, photosynthesis are, of course, right in this mix. Animals are as well.
How does
And then death and decay of animals. What?
How does death and decay make?
Okay.
Carbon?
Because when animals die, or even plants die, in that process of actually the carcasses or the plants rotting and degrading, CO2 is actually lost through that process, especially as you have microbes that start eating them. The microbes leave off the CO2 and then it goes into the air. Another thing that actually a couple of years ago was a big hot topic for this carbon cycle were cow farts.
What did you just say?
Glad I got your attention. Okay,
What'd you
so actually, a couple of years ago, the EPA, people there, whoever, they were blaming livestock producers for concentrated, large concentrations of animals in areas, okay? They were blaming pigs, sheep, cattle, whatever, and every time they farted or went to the bathroom, they would leave off carbon dioxide, and that's what was killing the atmosphere.
I have a story about
No.
that.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so I was on Facebook one day, you know,
Yeah.
and I saw this little like chart thingy about states where cattle outnumber people.
Yes?
And I was like, wow, that's an interesting little chart. I'm just gonna share it, you know. So I shared it. And then this person, I'm not gonna say their name, but they commented on my picture and they were like, you know, large quantities of animals in confined spaces are the reason for all this. And I was like,
Shut
For
up.
global climate change?
yes, that's what they said. Ooh.
Yes.
I saw a tweet, it was, what's her name? I think it was a Clinton.
No need to
And
finish
she
that.
blamed, that global warming caused diabetes. I'm like,
Who is this?
Something else?
No idea.
but
Didn't know
no,
that.
no.
No,
Hereditary.
But that was a really big issue a couple years ago, you know, but if you think about it, in terms of concentrated areas of organisms, what are probably some of the biggest areas where CO2 is going to be expelled out of? Besides your, where are there big concentrations of organisms that release carbon dioxide? Okay.
Colorado.
Feedlots could be. Yeah, I don't like that term either.
New Jersey, people just freedom.
Oh, okay, what are you saying?
New Jersey.
Okay, so we're talking about big cities, right? So if you think about organisms that expel carbon dioxide,
Missouri.
think about large cities, okay? People, we take in oxygen every day, we release carbon dioxide. So that is definitely an area where there is a ton of carbon dioxide that actually is released in big cities because people breathe every day. So yes, they are all part of the carbon cycle as well. Now, in turn, this is such a hot topic just because
Hot topic.
it is. Carbon is such a topic of
Score.
environmental deals or atmosphere and all that. So my suggestion for you is make sure you read and do your research on what you think is right or wrong. Do your own research. So we'll get back to this. Okay, I live here. Shh, real quick.
Hey, Mr. Dukes, I got a question for you. When's Earth Day?
April 20th or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the carbon cycle here. We have plants. Right, so we'll start with animals, death and decay, and these fossil fuels from factories. They all release carbon dioxide to go into the atmosphere, okay? Yes, we know that.
Yep.
But then we have plants that combat that, and then they are gonna take in that carbon dioxide.
Wow.
They then release oxygen for animals to breathe,
False.
and the cycle definitely is going this way, right here. The cycle would also be coming this way because fossil fuels pump into the air, plants take it, and then the cycle just would continue with, except I don't know how the oxygen actually would be going that way, but the fossil fuels, I guess, would be coming from this because fossil fuels, oil is really from all decaying matter over years and thousands, tens of thousands of years. But this would be your carbon cycle right here. The element that fixes the carbon in the air into actual food is plants, and we need that also to get oxygen.
What kind of plant?
Those are the products they get.
So if I lock myself in a carbon dioxide filter.
You would die. Yeah, that's, hopefully you understand that.
One plant.
What? Yeah. Unless, Cody, are you saying though, if you locked yourself in a car with a plant, would you die?
I don't think that plant would be fast enough.
No, that plant would not. Let's say what if you had a lot of plants in there? I don't know.
It'd be somewhat fun.
But here's what I would tell you also, Cody. Do not try that scientific experiment, okay? That would not be a good one to try. I promise you that.
I just have a little bit of brain damage.
Yeah, don't make a hypothesis on that or anything.
Cody, you already have enough blame, bud.
Okay, last thing here. One of the objectives was also explain why plants are carbon sinks. Well, because what they essentially do is they remove all of this carbon from the atmosphere and then fix it into an actual organic compound, okay? Organic compounds have to have what element again? Carbon, okay? So, organic compounds such as glucose has 6 molecules of carbon. So that is exactly why they are considered a carbon sink, because they are able to change it or fix that carbon into a usable energy source. And here is just simply the carbon cycle. Animals are carbon dioxide producers. Fossil fuels and wood add carbon dioxide to the atmosphere when burned. Human activity does also increase some of those CO2 levels, and that's a whole topic in itself as well. Which then led scientists to the theory of global warming, which now they call it global climate change. But that's a whole other topic in itself. These two could be hot topic, controversial issues.
That's a story.
But we do know one thing at the end, that plants are true equalizers of carbon dioxide because they fix it into that organic compound. Okay? So, whatever you believe or not, this is what this is definitely important to you because of the importance of taking the carbon dioxide, putting it into a sugar, of course, to use, and we've talked about that. So, here's what I'd like everybody to do right now. If you are in this class, at this very moment, please turn these notes in right here, unless you have any questions about your thoughts about global climate change.
Okay, I need just like 2 slides. Yeah.
4 slides, 5, 6.
So, you need to get your slides turned in right now.
I'm working on it.
Yes, I need them turned in right now. Oh, you did already. Oh.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, what did I do? You gotta turn them on, right? Getting there.
You can talk to him like a normal person.
Oh, okay. I could do that probably too.
Cody with his severe lip damage.
So this is one I can't say it.